We are recording, so hopefully I can edit. Hey, good morning, Greg.
Hey Lance, how are you this morning?
I'm good. It's good to see you, bud. Greg and I have been friends for, man, going on close to 8 years now. It's
Yeah.
amazing how time flies. We've served together primarily in the youth ministry context, and we've made our own transitions at this point. Greg allowed me the opportunity recently to allow a Birkman conversation, a coaching conversation per se. And I just want to take a few moments to, one, maybe allow Greg to introduce himself, but we're going to dive deeper into what have been the benefits that Greg has noticed just in, I guess, maybe a month or so post Birkman. So, Greg, just give us a 30-second, 1 minute highlight of who you are and our relationship, then we'll dive into the Birkman.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Greg Pirtle. I am the family minister at the church I work at here in Allen, Texas. And yeah, I've known Lance through youth ministry, and then we've both transitioned together into different roles, and we've seen the joys of that, the frustrations of that, and then just our friendship. One of my favorite things for a couple of years, we met pretty much every other week.
Uh,
Uh, at that time, you were drinking coffee and I was drinking tea. I think I've won him over to the hot tea side
well,
now.
there's the tea bag. So,
Excellent, excellent. So
thanks for
I
being
win.
in.
But just the conversations that we had about our roles in ministry, our families, different things like that, and so it just really encouraged and helped me. And so when Lance started showing me about this, actually, I don't even think you asked me if I wanted to do it. I think I said, "Well, can I do this? Like, it looks so good to me." So, and in the few weeks since we've done that, I've definitely had a lot of reflection and enjoyed kind of thinking through it a little bit more.
Absolutely. We won't take everyone's time, so we'll just dive in to what uh, Greg is seeing, and we're seeing on the screen. Hopefully, you're seeing it on the screen as well. What you see here is called a Birkman signature summary. The Birkman is 298 questions. It takes about 40 minutes to complete it, and basically allows you to see how you interact with others and what perceptions they have of you and what perceptions you have of other people. I think Roger Birkman said, once we get our perspective right, everything seems to fall into place. Isn't that true, Greg, that so many times that the tensions, the frustrations, or the successes that we have are largely dependent upon the interrelationships that we have on the team or the relationships that we even have in marriage? How have you seen that to be true in your own life?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you talked about. Well, I think about perspective and knowing yourself and knowing your gifts, your talents, your strengths, knowing things that drive you, things that drain you, really help you be a better teammate and team player. And when you're working in a team, it's challenging, even with a good team. And so when people are in the right roles, when you know each other well, when people understand themselves and understand others on the team, it's a lot easier to communicate. It's a lot easier to go back and be reminded, oh yeah, this person needs this to work within the team, or this person needs this, or be able to speak up for yourself and be more assertive and say, well, I need this if I'm going to help make this happen, if I'm going to perform this role well. And so I've definitely seen all of that at work.
Absolutely. Uh, so the Bergman is unusual from most other personality and behavior insights, primarily from the point that it shows you your underlying needs of what you need to be or need to have in a healthy relationship and interactions on your team or organization or even leadership and development. What does that mean? Basically, all it means is that many times in life, we get stressed or we get frustrated, we get stuck or confused or lonely. The Berkman is able to identify those indicators of pulling you out of that and saying, this is what you need, or this is what you need, Greg, in order to be successful. And I know when Greg and I had our conversation together. As you see here on your screen, the Birkman interest, he's 99% on musical. And if we go all the way down to the other bottom right, he's 5% on technical. It would be extremely frustrating for Greg if I put him in a role that was highly administrative and highly technical, because administration is 11% and 5% technical. It doesn't mean that Greg doesn't have the competency to do it, but what it does show, it shows that he may not have the desire to do it. So many times in our organizations, in our team development, people are very competent. We hire very competent people. But sometimes competency does not mean that they want or can do that role. So Greg, will you speak into that musical, the 99%? Because I know that was fascinating for you to kind of see how that showed up in your life in former years, but also even now, and kind of how you've been contemplating on how you fuel that desire as well.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because when I looked at this originally, like some of the others, persuasive, social service, literary, artistic, I knew all of those were pretty high, and I had a feeling musical would be up there. But when I saw the 99%, I was at first kind of shocked and stunned, but then it made total sense to me. I grew up in a home. My mom actually was she was a singer. And she also taught, but she was a singer, and she sang all the time. She and my dad sang in weddings, sang at church. Like we were a very musical family, especially vocally. And then I started thinking about where my I was in a place where, kind of what Lance was talking about a minute ago, where I was being asked to do things that were more administrative, do things that were more not necessarily out of my skill set, but things that I didn't enjoy.
Right.
And so I was getting a little bit frustrated with some things, more in myself and in my role. And so I had some conversations with people that I work with, and I did this, and I saw that musical piece. And so it hit me that when I was in college and I wrote papers, I would listen to music. And I know they tell you, hey, don't have any music on, you need everything silent, but that didn't work for me. So right. I would listen to music while I wrote papers, and it actually created the words that I was writing. Like it helped move my brain into the words that I was writing. And so when I think about things that I'm preparing now, when I listen to music, I get inspired, I get encouraged, I feel better. And so one of the things I've started doing is just trying to listen to more music. Unfortunately, the radio in my car went out a couple of years ago. So I don't get that in the car, but with cell phones now and everything else, I can play music wherever I go. So I've gotten in the mood. In fact, this morning I had a song playing on my cell phone as I walked into the office, and I turned it off right before you and I got on this call. But just playing music as I work, playing music throughout my day, different types of music. And even another thing that it's inspired me to do is we got a piano in our home about a year ago, and I hadn't touched it. I really hadn't played the piano much since middle school was the last time I really played. So I started sitting down at the piano a couple times a week and just playing, and things are coming back to me. And so it's interesting, but I love it, and it's feeding me and it's giving me energy.
Right. Isn't that phenomenal? Many times we know that what gives us energy in life, but sometimes we have these inner voices, these thoughts that come from the outside world that tell us how to behave or how to act, and we just know something in us doesn't really align with that. But that's what's fun about the Birkman, is that it kind of removes all the emotion from it and gives us plain data, plain information to kind of interpret and see, and then begin to have conversations. What does this mean for you? How can you get more of this or less of that? In the same way that Greg, the outdoor is 27%. That's neither good nor bad or pass or fail. It's just, it is what it is. So some people, for example, they may have a 96% outdoor. And if you put them in an office, kind of like Greg's office, there's no windows in his office, they're going to get frustrated. And so sometimes even those smallest things can help develop a team and help your organization be more robust. As you see here on the grid and the axes, the extrovert, the introvert, the task, and the people, you can see that Greg has a high interest with people, but he also has the high need for reflection. Based on our conversation, Greg, what do you remember sticking out about kind of these three indicators here for you, and how could that benefit you as you move forward?
I've always known I'm a people person. I mean, I like to talk. I talk too much sometimes, so I'm working on the listening aspect of things. But what I realized is that, or what this helped me realize, is that I need conversations of depth and reflection. And so that kind of started making sense to me when I would go to a group that would just be hanging out, not talking about a lot that's deep. I don't mind that. I enjoy that. But I found I found that I was being fueled having some conversation partners that wanted to go a little bit deeper in sharing life. And so, sharing life, sharing faith, talking about real things. And so I thought about this actually as I looked at this morning, yesterday, even at church. I had a gentleman come up to me and start talking to me about something that was fairly deep regarding mission and how we reach out to people and serve people in our community. And we talked for about an hour, and I was really energized by the conversation because there was something very authentic to it. There was depth to the conversation. A couple of weeks ago, I had lunch with a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a few months, and he and I just talked about some very real things. And the rest of my day was really good because I had these conversations with people who were on both of those days. The rest of the day was really good because those conversations stirred my mind, stirred my thoughts, and I need that. And I wouldn't have necessarily been able to know I needed that if I hadn't seen this map and you hadn't helped point this out to me. And so now I can't do it all the time. I mean, it can be draining if you do it like all the time, but looking for conversation partners on a continual basis where there is depth to it. And it's not just a hangout. Let's spend 3 hours talking about sports or things like that, which again, I don't mind doing, but I need the other as well.
Right. It's interesting as you talk about sports. I know I see you going to sports competitions and concerts on Facebook and kind of enjoying those social environments.
Yeah.
What I also find interesting is that if I just pull this up quickly, let's see if this works. Your incentives. We're not going to really talk about this, but this is what this could mean for somebody watching this video is that Greg, his usual style is a 34. Basically, all that means is Greg is not highly motivated. He's a little bit motivated, but he's not highly motivated by somebody saying, hey, if you work this hard, your end result is going to be $1,000 bonus, right? And in the same way, he doesn't.
I won't say no to that.
you would go for it, right?
Sure.
But over the long haul, it's probably not going to give you tons of energy,
right?
Tons of excitement. It doesn't mean that you don't enjoy competitive sports, but you're not going to go home and bang your head and get frustrated if you lose in a basketball game out at the park. Not that you would lose. I'm not indicating that. But I think this is interesting, right? If I just briefly pull up the difference of my wife and I, she's super high on the usual side of incentives, and I'm super low on the incentive side. But she is the one that is super competitive in our family. So that's the benefit of pulling these things out in a marriage context and a relational context as well. So I'm going to see if I can clear the drawing, and I'm going to go up to one final page. If I can scroll. That didn't scroll.
Nice mark of it.
There we go. I'm going to go back to this page at the top. So this was a 30-page report. Greg and I, at the end of our conversation, we talked about pulling out 3 or 4 of these that stood out to him, that allows him to give energy and momentum from. And this is the same thing that the Birkman can do for you, as well as so many other robust opportunities. But Greg, if you were going to speak into, say, maybe an executive leader, or maybe even a young adult who's 20 years old and stuck and confused, I think whether you're 40 or whether you're 20, we go through seasons of needing a guide in our life to come alongside and reaffirm the directions, the careers, or maybe help us to see new perspectives. What would be the benefit, or how would you share the opportunity with other people of why they should take advantage of taking the Birkman?
Yeah. So if you're an executive, if you're over people, I mean, your success is in how well your team performs, right? Your success is in how well you can motivate and lead your team. And from an if I had a big team that I was leading, I would love this, because it would be helpful to know if they're motivated by the $1,000 bonus, or if they're motivated by words of affirmation, or if they're just motivated, just self-motivated, that intrinsically they just want to do a good job. Because I would handle all 3 of those differently, right?
Right.
So I think from an executive standpoint, one, the better you know yourself and the better you know your team, the more successful you're going to be. I've worked with a lot of high school students and college students in my time, and that's a tough time when you're in college. Even you may be pursuing a degree in college, but wrestling with, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? That was me. I almost changed majors like in my senior year. But as time has gone on, I still, every once in a while, I'll wrestle with, okay, is this really what I should be doing, or should I be doing something different? Is it time to consider a different role, or a different type of job? And as a 20-year-old, 25-year-old, young adult, having something like this that can say, okay, here's some areas that you really need to look in. Here's some areas that you really ought to pursue. I think it brings clarity. It brings some focus. It brings, and then you look even deeper at like what we just looked at with the musical and the artistic and the technical and all that. Even within companies, you have different roles like that. So some people go in and I'm going to work for this company, but they don't really realize what role they're getting into. Right. So it can bring clarity for not just the field, but also roles within specific fields, I think, as you look at it and work through and just know yourself better.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Greg, thank you for the opportunity to do this Zoom recording.
Yeah.
I hope it's been a blessing to you, and hopefully it's a blessing to other people as well.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for asking me. Thanks for it's a good refresher for me, and I still go back and look at that at least once a week and just say, okay, what's one step I can take this week to live more into who I'm meant to be, rather than who everybody else thinks I should be. So anyway, I appreciate your time.
Let me throw this out as one last closing. Brene Brown has this quote about hope. Oftentimes we think hope is this elusive idea that is not really attainable or achievable. But she frames hope in such a way that it's perseverance, it's knowing your goals, dreams, ambitions, and going after them. That hope is something that we actively engage in. So what would it mean to you, and how would you answer this question? How would you choose hope, or how would you encourage others to choose hope?
To choose hope. Every day we get choices, right? Every day will have its good moments and its bad moments. A friend of mine told me recently, there are no good days and bad days. You just have good moments and challenging moments in every day. And so when I think about that, in those challenging moments, whether it's a day or a week or a year, whether it's work related
Right.
or family related or health related, we have the opportunity to choose to look beyond our circumstances right now and look toward a better future. And I think one of the problems with the word hope that we've bought into is this whole phrase of we don't want to get our hopes up.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I think that maybe we need to get our hopes up more often. Will there be times where we're let down? Yes. But what we miss out on when we don't hope is we miss out on the joy. We don't miss out on the disappointment when we keep our hopes low and we don't get something. We still feel disappointed, right?
Right.
But when we choose not to really give in to hope, and we do have that success or that opportunity or that moment where hope is realized, what we've been doing is we've been missing out on the joy by tampering the hope during that time. And so hope is a good thing. Maybe the best of things. If you want to go with one of my favorite movies, No Good Thing Ever Dies.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption right there.
There you go. Well, brother, I appreciate it. I know you have a staff meeting coming up here in about 8 minutes, so I appreciate your time today. I know it's valuable. I hope you have a blessed Monday, and we will see you soon and get some tea together.
All right, I'll go get some. Thanks, Lance. I appreciate it.